Sleep takes a third of our life and is the best thing ever. But you wouldn't be surprised to hear that many people don't give a about having a good sleep every night, or even worse, they might find it an annoyance, a complete waste of time. But according to the book Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, this sleep thing is kind of a big deal, like life or death kind of big deal. So in this video, I'll tell you why sleep is so essential and about the 10 steps I followed to maximize my sleep quality during my 30-day experiment. Will I decide to keep this habit at the end of a month, or will I abandon it because that book is full of bullshit and maximizing sleep is a complete waste of time? From an evolutionary point of view, being unconscious and immobile every night for hours, exposed to the outside dangers, sounds like a stupid flaw, yet nearly all animals, including humans, do it regularly. What great purpose could sleep have that overshadows these negatives? According to Matthew Walker in his book, there are a plethora of benefits besides the obvious one, that is body resting. About 8 hours of sleep are required to maximize all these benefits, and for most people, getting less than that regularly will have grim consequences. Besides the 1% of sleepless elites that can function perfectly fine on just 6 hours of sleep every night, the majority of people need to make sure that they get a full 8 hours of sleep every single night, since a big point made in Why We Sleep is that you can't get back your lost hours of sleep. Sleep is very important for long-term memory, both before learning to make space for new information and after learning to cement those memories. Sleeping less than 6 hours could result in a significant decrease in time to physical exhaustion, decreased athletic performance, decreased metabolism and immunity. Sleep loss also reduces concentration, which can be deadly in the case of sleep-deprived drivers. After just 10 days of 7 hours of sleep, the brain is just like after not sleeping for 24 hours, and it would take at least 3 nights of full sleep to recover. So it seems like sleeping less during the week to get more work done, and recovering all that lost sleep during the weekend is not actually possible. That goes completely against the octillion mindset of I will sleep when I'm dead. Because apparently, death will come sooner if you don't get 8 hours of quality sleep every night. But a book is just words written on paper, so I'll go ahead and try these 10 tips for maximizing sleep for the next 30 days, and I will see for myself whether there are actually any noticeable benefits. According to Matthew Walker, the most important tip towards getting good sleep is having a consistent sleep schedule, even during the weekends. Getting into that routine will make falling asleep and waking up much easier. So I decided to choose that as the main goal for my 1-month sleep challenge. For 30 days I went to sleep at 11 and woke up at 7. And just as promised, within a few days of following the routine, I fell asleep pretty fast, so no more hours of me alone in the dark with my existential thoughts. As for the mornings, I did feel fully rested when the alarm clock rang, but I still found that it takes a few minutes to be fully awake and get up. I would later implement another step that brushed that problem aside. A bonus tip is that you should never use the snooze button. Alarms already make you wake up stressed, so repeating that several times every morning won't make you feel more rested. For falling asleep easier, it is imperative that you also follow the next step. Caffeine makes you feel more energized, but it isn't for the reason you might think. During the day, a chemical called adenosine builds up in your organism, making you feel more and more tired. What caffeine does is that it blocks the receptors for adenosine, so that the body thinks it is not tired. That doesn't stop the buildup of adenosine, and when the effect of caffeine wears off, you can suddenly feel all the adenosine that's built up, so you feel extremely tired, thinking that you need more caffeine. The problem is that caffeine lasts a long time in our body, and drinking coffee after midday will mess up your sleep regime and will make falling asleep much harder. For me, it was pretty easy to completely remove caffeine during these 30 days, since I would usually only drink coffee whenever I would go out with some friends at a cafe or maybe at work. This is a missed opportunity to make a 30-day without caffeine video though. It might be hard for you to completely remove coffee from your day if you're already used to it, but try to only have it in the morning so that it gets out of your system by the time you go to bed. Any other medicine with a similar effect should also be avoided. Another thing to avoid would be... Wait, I thought that alcohol makes people fall asleep faster, so what's the problem here? Alcohol actually makes you fall into a state of sedation, not sleep. It fragments your sleep, making you wake up during the night several times, even though you don't necessarily remember that. Alcohol is also one of the most powerful suppressors of REM sleep, the stage of sleep in which you dream to consolidate connections between past and new experiences. So alcohol before bed will significantly reduce the quality of your sleep. I only drank a glass of wine once during this month at the Christmas dinner, but it seems like it was enough to make me wake up a few times during that night, and also it made me feel less rested the next morning. There's a loophole to drinking though. As long as you manage to get all the alcohol out of your system before you go to sleep, you should be fine. So you could technically drink in the morning. That was not a valid option for me though, so for the rest of this challenge I just decided to stay sober. Another missed opportunity to make a video about 30 days being sober. Whilst biphasic sleep is natural and taking a nap during the afternoon, if possible, is beneficial, you shouldn't take them later than 3 PM, since it will make it harder to fall asleep. I did just that once, and surprise surprise, it took me longer than usual to fall asleep that night. Have you ever wondered why it is easier to fall asleep after a hot bath? It is not because you get warm and cozy. In fact, it is the opposite. Taking a hot bath, your blood vessels are dilated, and when you get out, your core body temperature will fall. A colder environment will also make you fall asleep faster, and the ideal surrounding temperature, assuming standard bedding and clothing, would be around 18.3 degrees Celsius. The idea of cooling your body before sleep also relates to the next step. Exercise is of course great and important, but just make sure not to do it too close to bedtime. Physical activity will raise your body temperature, which will remain high for about 1 or 2 hours, making it harder for you to fall asleep. That was not too hard to follow, since I take the last hours of a day to just wind down, which is actually the next step. It is recommended that in the hours prior to sleep, you try to relax to get your body ready for sleep. For relaxation, you could listen to music, a podcast, or read a book. It is not recommended to use laptops or smartphones to wind down before bed though, and I will go more in depth into it in the next step. Now LED lights are everywhere, and nights are no longer as dark as they used to be. LED light, and especially blue hints of light, postpone the release of melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep, by a few hours. So all the blue light from watching Netflix at night will signal to your brain that it is still day outside, no need to go to sleep yet. But I still like watching YouTube or some shows before sleep. Is there anything I can do about it? To mitigate the effects of using a smartphone or laptop before bed, you can easily schedule a blue light filter in the evenings. By now this feature should be available in most devices natively, so it shouldn't be that hard to set it up. That's exactly what I did, desaturating all the blue light from my laptop and smartphone, and I also turned off all the lights in my room sometime before going to sleep. Light has a great influence on our sleep, and it is also the basis for our next step. Having the right sun exposure is also essential, since our body will follow the light level to tune our circadian rhythm. During the night, you should maintain complete darkness, which can be achieved using blackout curtains, and in the morning, it is recommended to get plenty of natural sunlight to feel awake and energized. My problem with this step is that it is quite dark here in the winter, and it was still pitch black in the morning when I woke up, making it quite hard to get up. But I found a simple solution to this problem, using a smart light bulb, which is scheduled to slowly go dimmer before sleep, and it slowly lights up in the morning, simulating the sunset and sunrise consistently. Finally, if you have trouble falling asleep for half an hour, it is recommended that you get up, do something else, and then go back to bed when you feel more tired. But what is my final verdict on this habit? Will I keep this habit, or will I abandon it? The outcome of this challenge was kinda boring. I don't feel like I have 10 times more energy throughout the day, or that my life has changed drastically. But I could still notice some differences. Before, I was always sleepy throughout the day and could never get enough of sleep. I was sleeping during class, during parties. Now I seem to have enough energy throughout the day and never feel that need for sleep anymore. Knowing that I can easily fall asleep at 11 and wake up at 7 without feeling the need to snooze the alarm has become the new norm for me. But I guess the real difference will be noticed if you ask me whether I want to go back to having a sporadic sleep schedule, drinking as much caffeine and alcohol as I want, and staying up until 1 AM. Because now, I don't want to go back to feeling tired all the time, idolizing sleep, and being salty every time I have to wake up. So I guess the verdict is, yes, I will keep this boring but essential habit to the best of my ability. With the first habit completed, there are 11 to go, and I am quite hyped up for them, because building habits is surprisingly easy, and you can see my top tips to build any habit in this video right here. Unfortunately, you can't dislike this video, but you can at least give it a like and subscribe. Until next time, don't forget to respect yourself.